Hi class, so in this lecture we are going to see on working with files. So I request all of you to open the 16 June folder, which is files 1. 16 June folder, which is files 1. So files 2 have the same content, but we can later modify it. But right now we are opening just June 16 file 1s. Just select the folder, right? So I think this is recording. Okay. Okay, so why do we actually require file records, right? So anything that you store in computers is basically a file, right? You have your Word files, you have your PowerPoint files, Excel files, everything is a file eventually. You have a MP4 file, you have your web series files, which are MP4 or AVI, you have your MP3 files. So everything eventually is a file, right? So typically, what are the operations that you do on a file? Typically, you read from a file, right? You open your Word document and you read. You open a PDF, you read the file. What is the other operation? You write on a file, right? You open an Excel file, you do some calculations and you save the file. So in that case, you open up your notepad, you start writing your C code and save the file. So that is a typical write operation. So either we read a file or we write a file. There is another operation which is usually known as updating or appending. What does update mean? Update means the file is already there. You open the file and you make some changes. So let's say you have a C code, you execute, the program is working well, and you need to add more functionalities to it. So you don't erase the entire file, you just keep on adding in the file, right? So this was just a basic theory of file operations. So now let us come to the programs, right? So how do the programs work? So first of all, we will learn how to write a character value, right? Basic character is the smallest byte, right? A character takes 1 byte and characters will take n byte. So let us see how do you write a character to a file, right? Initially I'm using system.cls, right? So that is clearing. Linux and Mac can use clear. So see, whenever you are working anything with file, just like we have a character, int, float, etc. For working with files, the data type basically you use is file, that too in capitals. As C is case sensitive, this needs to be in capital, right? And then we are using a pointer here. Remember that file pointers are relatively very easy. It just basically points to the file and nothing more operations are required, right? So now let's say this command, what it does is like fp is equal to fopen, and I'm writing a file name and I'm writing a mode. So let us go to the dashboard. There's some issue with my dashboard these days. Okay, fp is equal to fopen, so data1.text, and this is the write mode. So now I will tell you what everything happens. Fopen stands for file open. So I'm telling the C compiler that I need to open a file, right? And this is the file name. So let me. So the file name is this parameter. This is basically your file name, right? And finally, we have the third parameter, which is known as the mode, right? So mode can be a read mode where you can only read files but not write. You can have a write mode, right, where you write the files. You have an append mode. Append mode means you update the file, right? So by default, we assume everything is like a text file. Text files as in ASCII characters, right? ASCII files. There is also a binary mode which you will see much later. So right now, just remember there is a read binary, write binary, and ASCII append binary, right? So what this command basically will does, it says, okay, open this file into a write mode. Write mode means I want to basically write into that file. One more thing to remember is that when you open in write mode, right? So what are the possibilities? Possibility is that this file does not exist, right? Maybe this file does not exist. In that case, if not exist, create, right? So either the file will exist or not exist. If it not exist, then it creates a new file with the name data_1.txt, right? Second case, if exist, then empty the existing content and write. So let's say this particular file had some data content initially, this data1.txt, right? So what will write command do? So for example, see, I am having data1.txt. So I already have that particular file. You can see there is content like India is my country, right? Now when I start writing into this file, you will see that India is my country will be erased, right? What is this command? GetChar is to get a single character from a standard input. So our standard input is keyboard in this case, right? And then what we do, till we don't reach end of file. So end of file again is a special character, right? So do you remember /0 in strings, right? /0 was the last of the string. So end of file is EOF. That means the file basically ends here. So this is just basically a notation so that we come to know what is the end of the file or not, right? So let me execute this code, right? So what I'm saying, enter string control Z to end. So let me just enter some basic string, CS102 programming class, right? I just press enter and it is saying that, okay, when I want to quit my entering the input, I need to press control Z. So see, I am pressing control Z and then I'm pressing enter, the program exits, right? So in Windows, basically the end of file is control Z. When you press control Z, Windows treats as the end of file or end of a input. If you are a Linux user, you can actually use control D, D as in Denmark, control D. That is just nothing but, so what this loop does is, like, you can see there is a new function here, f put C. So basically F stands for file. So what I'm doing, I'm reading character by character. So CS102, I will read character by character and put this character into the file. What is FP? FP basically is referring to this particular file. That's it. File pointer is nothing but referring to this particular file. So here what I'm doing, I'm initially taking a get character, which should not be equal to the end of string. I am continuously taking all the characters till I encounter a end of file, that is control Z. So now let me just see the content of the file. What was our file? Our file was data1.txt. So when we see data1.txt, you can see CS102 programming class has come. That was the same string that we entered. See, end of file by default is a hidden character, just like we had /0 in strings, which was hidden. So again, end of file is a hidden character. You cannot see it directly. Fine. So what are the new things that we learn? We have a file data type which supports file operation. We open file using, so remember, mostly the keyword F will be there before every file operation kind of. See, F open means file open, right? There is a usual notation to denote file pointers by FP, but you can use anything, right? You can use FP star Coca-Cola, you can use FP star, file star Pepsi, anything is okay, but FP is a normal notation that you will see, file pointer. Then what we are doing, since we want to put the character into the file, we are using f put C. So what I'm doing, I'm reading a character and putting this into a file, and the file is pointed by fp. So what is fp pointing to? Fp is pointing to data-1.txt. So in this particular file, things will be written. And if you remember, right, data1.txt has India is my country. As I said, if you're opening anything in write mode and if the file is existing, it will overwrite. So now let us do one thing. Now I will remove this file. See, I am right clicking here and I am deleting the file, right? The file is deleted. Now I will just show you whenever you do anything in write mode, if the file does not exist, right? Now I have deleted the file. It will auto create. Let me run the code. So let's say I'm writing apple and mango, right? Oh, sorry, it should be control Z, right? So now you can see this data hyphen one dot text is automatically created. How it is automatically created? Because we made the changes in the write mode. So in the write mode, this is automatically created. Sorry. See, basically the control X was taken as a non-ASCII character. So, but apple and mango appeared correctly, right? So now again, since you are writing in a file, you can also read from a file, right? And see the functions are so nicely written. So f put c means you are putting something into the file, right? You are putting something into the file means you are writing into the file. Then how do you read that? So for reading, you have a function called f get c. Get c means get character from the file. So this is entirely the same program. You can see we have a file pointer here, and then we are having a f open, the same file I am opening but in read mode, right? In the previous case, if you remember, this was the write mode. The entire line is exactly same except for one character. See, this line is exactly same. Now I am doing the read mode, so I am erasing the write mode. So when I do the read mode, what I need to do, I need to keep on reading all the characters till I reach the end of file. Just like for strings you did /0, in this particular case you do end of file, right? And then you are printing one after the other. And finally there is an operation called fclose, which I forgot to mention here. Fclose means basically now you are closing the file. So all the operations are done and now you are closing the file. So you can see fopen is there and then fclose is there. When you open the file, you stored the pointer into fp. So this pointer was pointing to this file. Now when all the operations are done, you just go on fclose and then you close the pointer. So if you remember, when we did malloc, we also did free along with it, right? So if you are allocating something through malloc, free the memory using free command. Similarly, when you are opening a file using fopen, close the file using fclose. So now let us read the file. So when you read the file, you can see you got an apple and mango, and this was our control X, which came out as a non-ASCII character. Fine. Basically, this is an ASCII character only, right? So what is the difference between a reading and a writing file? Now with the reading, there is a issue. If this file does not exist, right? So basically, the program will actually throw an error, right? So actually, I will just show you in this particular program. So what happens whenever we are having a file which we need to open, right? So it will be stored in the pointer fp. Now let's say this file does not exist. So what will the compiler do? It will basically, this fp pointer will contain null. Null if file does not exist. Fine. So let us see one example. See data1.txt I am opening in the read mode. Then what I am checking, if fp is equal to null, file cannot open. That means the file does not exist. See, right now I have the file, right? Right now I have this file. So let me execute the p15 code. So it says file is opened. Why? Because the file was existing. Now let me do one thing. Let me delete this file. Right now the file is deleted, file is no longer existing. Let me again run the code. So when I run the code, it says file cannot open, right? Because the file does not exist. If the file does not exist, the read mode does not create the file. Read mode assumes that the file should exist or it won't create the file, right? So there is a good practice that whenever you are writing any read program, it is always better to write in this particular fashion. Fine. So everything is under the else part. You always check first for whether the file exists or not. If it does not exist, you just exit the program basically, right? So it just says the file cannot open, right? So now third program is, so with C it was characters, right? The same program I'm just telling you with W, right? So you have a program, you have a function called GetW and you have a function called PutW. So W here stands for word, but don't get confused with word. Basically, this refers to integer input, right? So see, here what I am doing, I am opening a file which is known as num.txt, right? So this file I am opening in write mode. So whenever you are doing in write mode, then there is nothing to worry about, right? If the file does not exist, it will create the file. If the file exists, it will empty the file, that is erase the existing contents, make it a blank file and then start writing. So in this case, what I'm doing, if you see, for I equal to 1 to 10, I plus plus, and I'm doing put W. As I said, what is put? Put is putting into the file. So what I'm writing into the file, I'm writing the values. What values I'm writing? I'm writing from 1 up to 10. Say it is less than equal to. So 1 to 10, including both 1 and 10. Right? And then finally, what I do, I close this particular file pointer. Now what I'm doing, I'm again opening. See, since I closed this particular pointer, I can actually reuse this particular variable. Even if you use another variable fp1 or anything x or y, it's still okay. But since I closed the previous pointer, I can actually reuse the same pointer variable. So now what I'm doing, I am basically reading the same file in the read mode. See, now I'm reading the file. First I wrote the file in write mode, wrote all the integers, and now I'm reading the file. So when I'm reading, we use the getW. That is get contents from the file. GetW is, get C is get character from file. GetW is get words from the file. Words are nothing but integers. So let me execute this code for you. So you can see the file content is shown here 1 to 10. Initially what was doing, it was basically having num.txt into the write mode. So now let us see the num.txt file. Okay, so num.txt is okay. So this is the problem with actually getW. So whenever you are writing anything through getW, the file that is written, you cannot read it into a normal text editor. See, you can see all the gibberish values here. This is why basically people avoid using getW and they use getC, right? So when they use getChar function, the characters are written in a fashion which you can read into a text file. GetW is actually used when you have some security related projects. Or for example, you don't want people to see what you have written into the file. See, this does not make any sense to me. But if you see in the particular program, when you are reading the GetW, it is correctly displaying all the numbers from 1 to 10. So GetW kind of even if you see on the online compiler, getW basically writes into a format which cannot be which cannot be easily seen on a notepad file. It is something kind of a hidden format kind of thing that you can remember, right? So again the same thing, fopen is for opening the file. You specify the write mode, right? So when you use put W, you have to specify the file pointer. This means that, okay, I am writing this into a file pointer and this file basically is pointing to num.txt. Similarly, when you are reading, you are basically using getW, right? Basically reading from the files, right? So guys, we can have a break for 5 minutes. By the time you can try executing the same codes on your machine. So we will be back at 12:23, right? Doubts are of course welcome. GetW for character. Usually the syntax says that GetW is for word and words are referred to as integers only. You may use, but it may happen that sometimes the output may be correct or sometimes the output may be gibberish. So avoid GetW for characters. Integers, it is all fine, but you can of course use getC for integers also, right? Because integer itself is a character in its own representation. Okay, class. So basically, whenever you are working with files, you have a large number of functions that can do the same task, right? So I will try to cover the maximum in this class, but of course, there can be many other functions except what I teach in the class, right? So in this particular program, we have our write string to a file using fputs function, right? So if you remember, the gets and puts function were there to work with strings, right? So gets was to take the input from the keyboard and puts was to basically put the string on the screen. So in this particular case, what I'm doing, I'm of course having a file pointer fp. I am having a character string of 50, right? So I can enter a maximum of 50 characters. I again open the file. So file open, the file name I am giving, and I am opening in write mode. So I need not worry. Even if it does not exist, it will open the file. Now I'm asking the user to enter a string which I'm getting through gets, right? Gets means get string. Get string is gets. And I'm using the variable s because we have the character declared as. See, now what I'm doing, f puts s comma fp. Fp is pointing to this particular file, data1. And what I'm putting in the file, I'm putting the string s which I took from the user. And then explicitly, I'm entering a new line into the file, right? So let me just execute this code. So enter the string. So I can say India country, right? So now see what happens here. What was our file? Data1 hyphen dot text. So let us come to the data1 hyphen and you can see India country. And if you can remember, the next line had slash n explicitly. So you can see this slash n is basically put here. So second line is coming as blank, right? So basically, whenever you're taking a string input, you can also take through, see, the advantage of gets is like you don't have to write a while loop. In the previous case, when we were reading character by character, we had to write a while loop till we reach a EOF, right? Whenever you are using a gets, right? So in gets, basically it takes all the input until you press a new line, right? So you can see the program is more cleaner in this particular case. So as I said, when you are doing fputs, you are having a file, and then puts means I am putting this content into the file, right? So again, a very simple program, but as always, there are multiple ways to get strings and characters, right? You can get a string using a getchar with a while loop, or you can use the gets function. That's up to you, right? So remember, you had written the particular, you wrote India country into the file in the previous program. Now, how do you read the string, right? So like for entering into the file, you had used fputs, right? Now for reading from a file, you are using fgets. See, using gets is only just to take input from the standard input, which is keyboard. When you are using fgets, that means I am getting a content from a file, right? I am getting a content from a file. Getting a content means I am reading the content from a file. So see what I'm doing here, I am opening this file into a read mode. So let us see the content of the file. The content of the file is India country, right? And then what I'm doing, I'm printing f string is equal to. So now see what is the syntax of gets command. S is the string that you will be reading, right? FP is the file from which you are reading, which is data1.x, and this specifies the number of bytes that you will read, right? Number of bytes as in, for example, in data1. So India comprises of 5 bytes because it has 5 characters. Sixth byte is the space, and then country is another 7 bytes. So 5 plus 1 plus 7. So total are 13 bytes is what we need to read. And 14th is basically the end of file character. So we are giving a good amount of buffer here that we need to read 49 bytes. Although the file is only 14 bytes, it's always okay to give a higher length, right? So let's just see. So these are basically n minus 1 bytes, right? So this basically goes from, this is up to 49 but not including 49. So basically this says that 49 bytes are read. So basically it reads the entire country. Now let us do one thing, I make it 5 bytes only. So 5 means actually it will read 4 bytes into the file. So let us see the output. So you can see INDI, right? Why? Because when you are specifying 5, right? It basically means I will read 4 bytes. 4 bytes means 0, 1, 2, and 3. So you can see 0, 1, 2, and 3. So these, if you count this, these are 4 bytes. So whenever you use fgets, whatever number you are giving here, it is n minus 1 internally, right? That many bytes it will read. So when I'm specifying 5 bytes, so if I'm specifying 2 bytes, it will read just 1 byte. It will display I. It is reading 1 bytes. Right? So let us keep it 49, or anything which is above 15 will help you read the entire string. Right? India, country. Right? So one good method can be to get the string length, and it can be string length plus 1. Right? That will be the most optimal thing to actually read. So now what happens if you want to do a multiple line input, right? So you saw that using gets, we were able to basically read a line and then store it into a file. But the issue with gets is that once you press an enter, it will basically terminate the input and then the program exits, right? Now, what if you want to write a multi-input to a file? So in this case, see what we are doing, we first take an input, and then as long as our input length is more than 0, right? We are using string length. As long as our input length is more than 0, fine, we continuously put into the file. So we read a string, we put into the file, and then we again get a user input, right? And now see what is here, string length is greater than 0. So how do we stop this? We just press a blank enter. We will just show you this output. So let me enter the lines of code. Let's say India is a country, and let's say apple is fruit, right? And let's say stapler, stationery, right? And now you want to see I am actually continuously getting input. Why? Because in the while loop I am giving gets. Now how do I stop? I can stop when the string length is 0. So what I do, I just press a blank enter. So you can see the input is stopped now. And what was the file? My file was data-1.txt. So data-1, when I come back here, you can see India, country, apple, fruit, and stapler, stationery, which is the same text which I entered here, is going into the file, right? So this is how you write multiple lines. So what is the objective here? You took a string length which is greater than 0. So anytime I'm entering any input, I already know that the string length will be greater than 0. I put everything into the file, then get a string from the user. If this string length is greater than 0, that means I have to put it into the file. Once you press a blank enter, that means the string length is 0. You have entered nothing. The loop terminates. Fine. So now how do you read multiple lines from the keyboard? Same, you can use the fgets command. And now till when you will fgets? Till you don't reach the file end of file, right? So there is a function here, fuf, that means end of file for the given file, which is pointed by the pointer fp. What is the pointed file by fp? Fp basically points to data1.txt, which is in read mode. So it means that till I reach the end of the file, I keep on printing strings from the file. So every line it's printing here, and it's reading 49 minus 1, that is 48 characters from the beginning. So just let us execute this particular code. So you can see the previous file which we had written, India, country, apple, fruit, and stapler, stationery. So at this particular point, the end of file was encountered. And once the end of file was encountered, we basically quit the loop and then exit the program, right? So I think it's the file is one of the simplest concepts in C, and very easily you can do file operations and file manipulations, right? Just fgets, fprintf, fscanf, all the inbuilt functions, just append the f before it and specify the file pointer. So you specify the file pointer and it's done. So now till now we have seen either string writing or integer writing or something like this. Now we will see how can we write different types of values using the fprintf function. Remember what was printf being used for? Printf was being used to output the contents to the screen or to the standard output. In the text you will refer the standard output. Now what will be fprintf? Fprintf is basically printing contents to the file. So basically I am storing the contents into a file. That is the use of fprintf, file printf, right? Fprintf is file printf. So what I'm doing here, I'm opening the file f having fp, right? And I'm defining three variables, integer, character, and float, right? I'm having this particular things to do. Now using the file, I'm again opening data1 in the write mode. So what will be the disadvantage of this? That all this content will be erased, right? So all the contents will be erased. Now see, what is my command? I am saying fprintf and I'm giving the file pointer. That means print the contents whatever I am giving you to this particular file, which is fp. Fp is pointing to data1.txt. And what is my content? Roll number, name, and marks, right? So if you can see, if I remove this particular thing, this is a syntax of printf. You specify the format specifier and then the variable names. Now since I am using fprintf, I am actually giving fp as the input. That means this particular file, and what I'm printing in the file, roll number, name, and marks. So roll number is 290, name is Nils, and 84.69. So let me run the code. So it says details are saved in the file. Let us go and look at data1.txt. So you can see 290, Nils, and 84, right? So if you can see, we didn't specify any slash n in the between, and hence it came all the way in a single line. So this is how basically you can store contents into a file using fprintf function, right? Fprintf is basically file printf. So you are basically printing something into the file. That means you are writing something into the file, right? So this is the concept here. And then again, how do you read the contents from a file? Right, the same code only. I'm having the same three variables. This time I'm opening the file into a read mode, right? I'm opening the file into a read mode, and then just I am reading. So you can just see so how do you read variables from a keyboard? You read the variables in a keyboard using fscanf function, right? You read the variables using the fscanf function. So normal reading is using scanf. If you want to read from the file, you are using fscanf. And now we know that our file had roll number, name, and marks, right? So we basically specify the file pointer fp from where you should read the file, right? So just we are executing this code. So you can see the details from the file are roll number, and name, and marks. So in this case, you need to remember the order in which you had stored, right? Because it should remain the same order, roll number, name and marks. Fine. So this is done, and after this we have a program 10, right? So this is just a standard input get C and put C, right? So get C is get character and put C is put character. So this actually I should have covered during the strings actually, but it's okay. So whatever string I'm entering here, India as a country, that gets replicated here. So why does this happen? Because what is happening here is that I am asking the user to enter a string, right? So get C std in. So what is std in is basically standard input. In our case, standard input is keyboard. So what I am doing, I am reading character from the standard input till I encounter a end of line, end of file, right? That is Control Z. So what I'm doing, I'm doing put C to standard out. What is standard out? Standard out means it's a screen. What is the standard output device? Right? Output device in our cases is screen. Input device is basically keyboard. So what I'm doing, I'm taking input from the standard keyboard character by character till it does not match the end of file, and then I'm putting the same characters on the screen. Right? So I use Control Z, which is the end of file. So end of file is not equal to end of file is false, and it exists the loop. So guys, for today, I am finishing the lecture at this point only. So tomorrow we will see how can we work with structure variables and all those things. So today will be a short lecture, but I want that you all please practice this file programs, right? Even on online you have, I think the Yashwant Kanetkar Solutions has this thing, right? So you can have file input and output. So whatever I have taught today, I would want that you can just try these particular codes, right? Write a program to read a file and display contents with line numbers, right? So this is the file a.text containing this random text, and how do you proceed with it? So I would advise you that you can, it has many exercise problems, right? So I will advise you that you please practice these programs today, even just copy paste it and try to practice it, right? So that's it for today's lecture class. So doubts are welcome, and those who don't have doubts, they can leave the session. So today we are done.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have doubt from structure.
Okay, doubt from structure. Yesterday's class.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last second program of structure.
Okay, union, enumeration. Which one?
Sir, P10 dynamic memory.
P10 is accessing.
Dynamic
Acha.
memory allocation of structure.
Okay, just a minute. I just think you want structures one. Yeah, this program.
Sir, in this program, we have written in scanf %d ampersand of ptr plus I. Means why do we need to write ampersand here, as we are defining ptr as pointer? So in case of like normal pointer, we do not write ampersand.
Uh,
Why we are writing ampersand here for pointer?
so ampersand in the name or in the age? Which one you are saying? Which line number? 31?
This age, yes, sir.
Yeah. So see, whenever you are having a pointer variable, so to what I have seen the C syntax, they say that whenever you are referring to strings, right? So you can see percent %s is there. You need not use ampersand. I think even if you use na, it won't have any effect actually. Let me just use it. See, enter the number of persons, enter the first name and age, let's say Mayank and 15, and let us say Sachin and 40, right? So you can see even if you are using an ampersand, it does not have any issue with it, right? The thing is, the issue is whenever you are using an with a string variable, say string is implicitly a character, right? And character implicitly is stored with the base address of the character array, right? So in that case, usually the ampersand is avoided because we know that strings we are anyways going to refer by a array. But when we have non-strings, integer and floats and everything, we specify ampersand. But for your doubt, I will say always use ampersand, so that you have to remember only one rule, right? So as I told you, you can see even if you put an ampersand, the output does not change. Correct?
Yes, sir, but I was asking that why we are writing ampersand ptr plus I arrow h, as ptr represent pointer of structure. We should
Acha.
not write ampersand.
Okay, so you want to remove the ampersand from here. Let us see. See, some things are actually syntax in C. I think this will also work perfectly. Okay, so it did not work upon correctly. Okay, yeah, this is a good question. Why the ampersand is being used here? Ampersand PTR of this. PTR is base address, and this basically is syntax, but let me just find out if I can actually get, because googling such thing is also difficult. I will just find out, but for now you can just remember that even if you are using pointers and using a scanf operation, you make use of ampersand. I will have to find this out. I will read from Yashwant Khan Edkar, or I will let's see another book also, if they give an explanation for this. You can just WhatsApp me. I will try to get back to you. Fine.
Okay, sir,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, Priyanshu, I have a doubt. Suppose we put 5 integers using fprintf to a file, and then scan last integer using. So we will have to scan or uh, Priyanshu. So in tomorrow's class, I will actually cover one function which is known as fseek, SEEK, right? So I will teach that function. That is nothing but an fseek function. So in fseek, you can actually achieve what you are trying to say. So let's say you access five, you take 5 integers and you want to only see the last integer. So fseek, what fseek does is, like, you can actually seek a particular position. So you can say that, okay, the file has 5 integers, but I only want the last integers. So that I will actually cover in tomorrow's lecture. So I didn't want to complete too many sections today. So Priyanshu, I basically did not teach the fseek function today. So yes, what is your doubt? That can be done. Even if you are taking 5 input integers, you can directly refer to the first, second, fifth, fourth, anything using the fseek function, which we will see tomorrow. Okay.
Sure, sir.
And Vipin has a doubt in string 07. Okay, let me just open string 07. Acha, tell. Okay, can you please again say it? I think you are making a good point. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you make a valid point, but I think I need to then refer to the text actually. Why are we using ampersand here? And I to just remember, like, scanf requires ampersand, so I make things simple to me. Okay, scanf means you have to use ampersand even if you're referring with pointers. But I think, yeah, this may be a valid point also. But then since I'm not sure, I cannot guarantee things. I will have to read then.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah, say.
Sir, first I take a input by scanner. It is not related to that, a general term.
Okay.
I I take an input which is choice. User input from user uh, in the first line, and suppose that I entered 2 and press enter. So the
Okay.
choice is the entered,
Okay.
and then I print a line, enter the string S1, and I am printing a line that enter the string S1, and I am taking the input from the next line onwards.
Okay.
And I am taking the input string by getChar function.
If you are using getChar, then you have to use a while loop if you want a string input, right?
Yeah, but sir, the problem which is coming is that when I pressed enter while taking the choice earlier, the getChar function is assuming that slash n in the first instance.
Ah, okay. So what you can do is, okay, so you can try to give a space, two space and the string.
But sir,
Actually,
why is it happening
why
so?
is it happening? Because see, by default, C has multiple ways to end a string. So when you are taking a choice, you press 2 and you press a enter, correct? So
And
now what happens for
yes,
that
sir.
choice integer? Only 2 is an integer. The rest is an input to the future program. So what happens now in your case, the enter that you press is taken by the getChar function. And since it's an enter, it feels that okay, the string has ended. So for your case, there is a function in C which is known as getChe, right? Getche. I think I have used it somewhere in my programs also today. I will just show you. Let me just open the folder, and your doubt is excellent. I will let me come back to it. So Control Shift F, getche. See, this was tomorrow's program actually. See here, what I'm doing here is like I am asking the user whether they want to input more records, right? Another equal to y or another equal to y. You can see there is a function here getche, right? So getche will basically take a single character from the user input. So in your case, what you can do a scanf choice, fine. You enter 2, then you just write this particular function getche. So your enter will be consumed by the getche function, and then whatever string you are entering using, let's say, gets, that will be properly taken by the compiler. Are you getting the point?
Yes,
So
sir.
this
But
is the
actually,
solution.
after the choice input, when I pressed enter, I also print out a string which is enter the string S1.
Okay.
So I think that the previous enter will be lost after I had printed the enter the string
Enter the
S1, and
string.
then I took the getChar function.
So Kushagra Yadav has actually written in the text that when he googled this particular issue, it says that slash n remains in the buffer. Thank you, Kushagra. So as Kushagra has pointed out, it says that slash n will remain in the buffer. So the compiler, while executing, remembers the slash n, and that is why you are facing the issue. And see, I think these
Okay,
things
so
are, compiler specific. It may happen that it may not work on a latest compiler, or it may work on a previous compiler. So not a big issue, but of course you encountered the doubt, so it is good that we are discussing.
okay, sir.
Yeah. So, but were you able to take the input of the string or no?
I used the getChar function for taking the enter
No.
previously,
So
and
see,
then it worked.
choice was entered as 2, then you pressed enter, and then you got the display as enter a string. So let's say you were entering India is my country. Were you able to fetch that string, or you were not able to fetch that string?
No, sir, it was ended due to the enter I pressed
Okay.
during the choice.
So you can try one thing. You can try to use the gets function, gets, right? Let's say your string name
Yes.
is name. So you use gets and in the bracket just write name, right? Because gets is a more powerful way to, take functions, you take string inputs, right? If you see today's
Okay.
program, what we were searching end of file, right? Whenever you were ending the file. So better to use gets function, and then you can WhatsApp me if you are using gets and the variable name, are you able to get the string or not? If you are still getting the error, WhatsApp me the code. I will try to debug and give it the solution to you.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, as this is the problem of buffer, so can I flush? Will it work after the flush?
So there is, if you can see my screen right now, in tomorrow's code, there is a code line like flush stdin, right? So this
Yes, sir.
basically does the thing that you want. It will flush all the standard input that it has taken. So then if you execute this flush command, then /n will not remain in the buffer, right? So
Okay.
this was all
Okay,
for
sir.
tomorrow's lecture, but I thought, okay, I will keep our lecture short today. Fine.
Okay, sir.
So Vipin is here. Vipin, the card has string 7. Okay, let us open string 7. Strings 2, string 7. Okay, this was in string 2. Strings 2. Yeah, Vipin, what doubt you have?
So in the line 20, 19, the string in array X is you are printing the X.
Okay, just a minute. Line number 19, I am printing the string X and X is happy birthday to you. Yes.
But sir, it is printing only U.
It is printing only you. Okay, let me just check. Okay, happy birthday to you. The string in X, size of X is okay. Let me just check the code. Okay, X is this. My string is high there. Y and this. So printf string length of X is 21. Percent s, percent s, percent s, percent s. All right. The string in array X is this. String copy. Okay, should not have been the case. Let me do one thing again. Print s X. Happy birthday to you. The string in Z is okay. This time it is coming. So X is having happy birthday to you. And what happened here in this case? Let me just check it out. The string in Y is %s/n. So string in Y also comes as happy birthday to you. So now let me just check. Then there is an issue with the printf here.
So this is also happening with the Z. The Z is also printing here.
Z size 2 minus 1, size 2 minus 1. Okay. Okay, Z will have an issue. Okay, Z. This I think is an issue with the Alt F10, Alt F9. Happy birthday, array X is you. I think there is an issue with this particular printf block. Probably I just took it from the online code. I think, see, as of now, if I just simply write printf X and printf string copy, I think X and Y are perfectly working, and this is the output that we are expecting, right? Size of X is this. String X is equal to, right? So let me just run the code. String X is this. String Y is happy birthday to you. The string in array Z is. So let us see what we did with Z. Z basically is size 2. Size 2 is 15, right? And we know that the whole string is 21 in length. Fine. And so what we are doing, we are copying X to Z and we are copying only 14 characters because size2 is 15. 15 minus 1 is 14 characters, right? So technically what should come here is like, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then space is 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it should actually come to y, and then we are attaching a /0. The string in z is z. Okay, string in zx. Okay, let me just execute this code online. Should not come. String should come happy birthday actually. See. So that was a compiler issue, right? So you can see the string in z is happy birthday. Why happy birthday? Because in our code we were copying string and copy, right? So we are copying only n characters. And what was size2? Size2 was 15. 15 minus 1 is 14. So I am copying only 14 characters. And you can see the 14 character ends at y. So happy birthday. This particular string is 14 characters. So this was the issue with my compiler actually. And I think if I execute the whole code online, probably this code will also run correctly now. See, so that basically that is a compiler issue, not the programming issue. So you can see here the output is coming correctly. The string x is happy birthday to you. The string y is again happy birthday to you. So that is the issue with the compiler. Some compiler bug is there, or else the code is correct, right? So you got the doubt clear. You can see string in z is happy birthday, which is 14 characters that is printed. And even in the old printf output, I would avoid using this complex form. Better to use direct simple forms that we have studied till now. Yeah, size 1. So let's say if I keep both the sizes as 25, the z will contain the entire string, because 25 minus 1 is 24. So you can see now z contains happy birthday to you. Fine, no issues. Yeah, so I think then we can end the class. Almost we took the entire 1 hour today. This is mute. Stop sharing.